I rise like the sun sometimes, but then I fall. Like a black moon, I rise when the night falls. When the night falls, the mic calls. So listen, it's the ultraviolet rays that keep me rising on the mission.
TikTok is grind time. We're continuing the summer video blitz with a video about the 76ers, all right? Continuing the Next Step series about the Sixers. So, obviously, the 76ers had a very good season, one of the best seasons they had in a very, very long time. This storied franchise has been through a lot. They had many losing seasons. They had one of the worst records. I think they had the worst record in NBA history a couple years ago. And from this, they got a whole lot of lottery picks or whatever, which was the plan from Sam Hinkie. So this team had a 50-win season this season, had the third seed, and ultimately ended up being eliminated by the Boston Celtics. In the series, I really felt that they should have won. I felt like they were more talented than Boston. I just felt like they didn't have the experience and they didn't have the coaching that the Boston Celtics did, so they were able to be beaten by a team that wasn't quite as good. But they're a young team. It's okay this season, but going forward, I'm going to talk about what they need to do to prevent themselves from being eliminated early in upcoming seasons. So, the first question I feel like the 76ers have to ask themselves is Brett Brown really the guy that you're going to hang the franchise on? So, Brett Brown didn't really know a whole lot about him before he was coaching the Philadelphia 76ers. Was not a huge name in a coaching world, and given all the circumstances, I think he did a pretty good job with this team. It's not so much that he did a bad job why I'm saying the Philadelphians have to ask this question. Why I think the Philadelphia 76ers have to ask this question is because even though he did a good job, or even if you say a great job, is he the guy who can get this team to the next level? The next level. Not necessarily just being competitive, but a team that could challenge for a championship. Now, the first thing this reminds me of is the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors had Mark Jackson as their coach. They had Steph Curry, they had Klay Thompson, they had Draymond Green. Okay, they had a lot of other nice players around those guys. Mark Jackson was a coach with a very old school mentality. Okay, he understood, traditional position basketball, and that's what his understanding of basketball was. With these players, that team did not go very far. They were eliminated by the Clippers. The year before that, they were eliminated by the San Antonio Spurs. Early knockouts, even though they had the same talent. Now, you could say that the talent just got better, but in my opinion, when Mark Jackson went out, and I was somebody who was against Mark Jackson losing this job, when Mark Jackson went out and Steve Kerr came in, you saw a change in the Warriors. Steve Kerr understood more modern ways of playing basketball. He understood you didn't need a traditional big man. You don't have to play a power forward and a center together. He understood all of these concepts or whatever. You can start your sets from further out, making the defense have to, guard out past the three-point line, creating more space on the floor. He understood a whole lot of stuff that I don't think Mark Jackson really believed in. And we all know Steve Kerr was very, very successful with this Warriors team. Since Steve Kerr took over, this year was their worst year, where they didn't win 60 games. They won 67, they won 73, they won 67, and then this year I think they won like 57 games or whatever. But that should tell you something. The coach does make a big difference. If a modern coach got with those players, and a coach who was very smart schematically and could make them do different stuff and maximize their talents, I believe they could be in a better situation. But they may just relax and have Brett Brown, and that might be just very well good enough. But they have to ask the question. They have to at least look at the possibility of bringing in somebody else to coach these guys. The Sixers have to focus on their free agents this year. JJ Redick is a free agent. TJ McConnell, their backup point guard, who was their starting point guard for years, is a free agent. Rashawn Holmes, so a young player who they had high hopes for, who hadn't really panned out too much at this point. He's a free agent now. And Amir Johnson is a free agent. He's like, somebody who helps them out on defense. He's their backup center. I think all those players are really worth coming back. I know JJ Redick, I know they will try to do everything they can to get him back on board. TJ McConnell, maybe not. I like him as a player, but I don't know if they will value him enough to pay him money, and he may get a bigger offer to be a backup point guard somewhere else. So we'll see with him. Rashawn Holmes, I'm sure he'll be delighted to re-sign, because I don't know that he has much of a market. And Amir Johnson, maybe not. They can find another backup center, so it's not a big deal, but if they could re-sign him, that's good for them too. They also need to pay close attention to the free agent market for outside free agents. Now, everybody's been talking about LeBron James. Everybody's been talking about trying to pursue Kevin Durant. Everybody's talking about Paul George. Everybody's talking about trading for Kawhi Leonard. All this stuff, these huge names. I don't think Philadelphia even needs to go there, to be honest, with the big name guys or whatever. I think a guy like Jabari Parker, an unproven forward in this NBA who had, a lot of high hopes and who really hasn't gotten the chance yet in Milwaukee to really find himself or whatever. I think he's somebody who could possibly go to this Philly team and help them out and find himself. I think another free agent who they really should go after is Marcus Smart. I think Marcus Smart will now be re-signed by the Boston Celtics, and I think he's a guy who could really help out a team like Philly. He's a very nasty, very tough player. I feel like he will help them leadership-wise because he has a lot of playoff experience, and he will be one of the defensive leaders on the floor. I just think Marcus Smart would be an excellent addition to the Philadelphia 76ers. Will Barton. If you don't know Will Barton, he's somebody who's been in the Sixth Man of the Year discussion for the past couple years. He is instant offense off the bench. He's not a shooter per se. He's like a slasher, but he also can create off his own dribble. He can do a lot of stuff. He's not necessarily a shooter. He will help. He's somebody who can just get buckets. Sometimes you just need somebody who can come in the game and get buckets without struggling to, have the offense run plays or whatever. He could just get in there and get buckets. And Kyle O'Quinn from the New York Knicks is another big man. If Amir Johnson were to leave, I feel like he's another big man who could fill Amir Johnson's shoes. He's not bad. Kyle O'Quinn is not bad as far as a big man in today's NBA or whatever. So I think that would be a good pickup, and he'd be pretty cheap for them as well. Another key that I think Philadelphia needs to focus on this offseason is Markelle Fultz. I think they need to make sure that he is ready to contribute at a high level for this team. There was a lot of crap earlier this season about his jump shot, about the coaches changing his form, trying to change his form because of a shoulder injury, and this and that and this and that. And ultimately, the rookie season for Markelle Fultz did not go as anybody would have expected. Which is sad, because this is a rookie class that we saw Jason Tatum, rise to like a star type level, at least in the media's eyes. We saw Lonzo Ball play, pretty good basketball the whole season. Looks like he's going to be good. We saw Donovan Mitchell, who was a lower first round pick or whatever, just killed the NBA the whole season. We saw all these great performances. Ben Simmons wasn't necessarily a true rookie this year, but we saw all these great players balling out their rookie season, and then we saw Markelle Fultz just kind of sitting on the sidelines, and he was the number one pick. That means scouts all over the NBA, and you can't just say it's just Philly, it's scouts all over the NBA thought this guy was the best player out of all these great players, and all we got to do is watch him sit on the bench. So he has to be ready to contribute to this team at a high level. I still think they can start him. The beauty of having a big like Ben Simmons play the point guard is that you can have a combo guard, like I believe Markelle Fultz is, play at the point guard position without and play off ball at the same time. So I think Markelle Fultz, because he's a point guard but playing with Ben Simmons, I don't think it'll hurt his game at all. I think Ben Simmons will actually make the game a lot easier for Markelle Fultz. So I like to see Markelle Fultz really come into this season ready to contribute to this team at a high level, and the coaches and the organization need to make sure that he has everything he needs to make sure that happens. My recommendation for the Philadelphia 76ers is to add shooting via trade or re-signing JJ Redick and re-signing other free agents or whatever the case may be. But you'd have to add more shooting around these star players. I think they need to focus more organizational resources to player development and health, especially health. The Philadelphia 76ers needs to be like the Suns of the early 2000s. Remember when everybody said the Suns had the fountain of youth in their training facilities? This is what the Philadelphia 76ers need to do. They need to find the best trainers that the NBA has to offer. If that means trying to lure away some of LeBron's trainers, trying to lure away trainers with big names or whatever who have all these, out of the box ways of training and recovery and all that stuff. If it means trying to lure some of those people to come to Philly, they need to do that. But they need to have the best facilities and the best trainers and recovery specialists and things of that nature for the 76ers. Why? They have too many athletic freaks. All these people that they have on this team are athletic anomalies. Look at Joel Embiid is 7'3", and he falls on the floor a lot. He tries to create shots off the dribble from the perimeter. He does Euro steps. All this stuff is movement that's typically unnatural for somebody that size, right? So they have to figure out a way to make sure he doesn't hurt himself out there. He has great talents, and that's amazing. But at the same time, they need to really figure that situation out. Ben Simmons, the same thing. 7 feet tall. He runs really fast. He's very agile. He takes a lot of punishment or whatever. They just have to figure out a way to have these athletic freaks or whatever, to have them maintained properly. And I feel like they have more of a task than other NBA teams. And because of that, they need to dedicate more resources towards keeping these guys healthy. But if these guys could be healthy, if Joel Embiid and Fultz, and this is the other thing with Philadelphia, they already kind of failed that task with Markelle Fultz this year. They already kind of failed. So they really need to dedicate the proper resources, get the guys in there to train these players properly and make sure that their bodies are right at all times. And they need to do more than any other NBA team. They need to dedicate more resources to that than any other NBA team, because they have different types of players than any other NBA team has. All right, so those are my recommendations. Add shooting and get those resources dedicated to training, development, and maintenance of these players. All right, but yeah, that's my video about the 76ers. Let me know what you think the keys for the 76ers will be this year. We're coming with the summer video blitz all summer long. Hit that subscribe button because you don't know when your team breakdown is coming. All right, see you next time.